He was known only as the Whisperer, a man cloaked in shadows, haunted by voices. His flesh, a conduit, it hummed with the psychic static of 1,000 minds. He walked among us, yet he was never truly there. From birth, the Whisperer was different. His senses were overwhelmed. The world, a cacophony of thoughts and emotions, crashed over him. He tasted fear like bitter wine, felt joy as a burst of sunlight on his skin. Loneliness became his only companion. He yearned for silence, for the simplicity of his own thoughts, but the whispers never ceased. They clung to him, a psychic residue he couldn't escape. Every encounter was a double-edged sword. A simple conversation was an intricate dance through the labyrinth of another's mind. He saw the hidden desires, the unspoken fears. It was a gift, a curse. He was both blessed and burdened. He saw the truth behind the masks people wore. Their carefully constructed facades crumbled before his gaze. Lies tasted metallic like blood in his mouth. Honesty resonated with a pure, clear note. He saw the good, the bad, and the ugly with unsettling clarity. He felt the weight of their secrets, their hopes, their dreams. It was a tapestry woven from the threads of 1,000 souls, and he, the unwilling weaver. His own thoughts were a dangerous current. He learned quickly that to think was to potentially influence. Every decision, a gamble. What if his desires bled into the minds of others? The line between his will and theirs blurred. He withdrew, a recluse in a world he could never escape. For the Whisperer, solitude was not a choice, it was a necessity. He became a ghost, haunting the edges of society, always observing, never participating. The world spun on, oblivious to the man who felt its every tremor. Joy was a double-edged sword. The euphoria of a crowd could lift him up, carry him on a wave of shared ecstasy. But the crash afterward, the emotional undertow, left him drained and empty. Anger was a storm within his soul. Rage, hatred, frustration, they pulsed around him. He became a lightning rod for the negativity of the world. It scorched him, left him raw and exposed. He learned to shield himself, to build walls against the onslaught. But even the strongest fortress has its weaknesses, and the world, it seemed, was relentless in its assault. Section 5. The prison of flesh. He was trapped. His body, a prison of sensory overload. He craved release, a moment of quiet in the maelstrom, but there was no escape from the psychic din. He tried to explain, to make them understand. But how do you explain the taste of color or the sound of scent? He was met with blank stares, fear, disbelief. He was alone in a crowded room, a universe unto himself. They called him crazy, a freak, but he was just a man, cursed with the ability to feel too much. Section 6. Seeking solace. He found solace in nature. The rustling leaves, the babbling brook, the wind whispering through the trees. They spoke a language he could understand. A language without words, a language of pure feeling. Animals, too, offered a strange comfort. Their emotions were simple, primal. He felt their fear, their joy, their love, without the burden of human complexity. In these moments he found peace, a fragile, fleeting peace, easily shattered by the intrusion of the human world. But it was enough to keep him going, to remind him that there was beauty to be found, even in his chaotic existence. In Section 7, the echo chamber, he learned to navigate the world by echoes, not the echoes of sound, but the lingering resonance of emotions left behind. Each place held a memory, a trace of the feelings that once filled it. He could sense the joy of a child's laughter in a playground, long after the laughter had faded. He felt the lingering grief in a hospital room, the echoes of a life lost. The world was a palimpsest, written and rewritten with the emotional experiences of its inhabitants, and he, the unfortunate soul burdened with the ability to read between the lines. Section 8, the burden of truth. He saw the darkness in the hearts of men, the greed, the envy, the lust for power. It sickened him, filled him with a despair that threatened to consume him whole. But he also saw the good, the acts of kindness, the selfless love, the quiet heroism of ordinary people. It was a flicker of light in a world that often seemed shrouded in darkness. This, he realized, was his burden and his salvation. To see humanity in all its flawed glory, to feel the pain and the joy, the despair and the hope, to bear witness to the never-ending struggle between light and darkness. Section 9, A World Within, he retreated further into himself, building walls not of stone and mortar, but of silence and solitude. He sought refuge in a world of his own making, a world where the whispers were muted, where he could find a moment's peace. He was a universe unto himself, a being of pure thought and feeling, adrift in a sea of humanity, and though he yearned for connection, he knew that his gift, his curse, would forever set him apart. He was the whisperer, the man of 1,000 minds. And this was his story, a story of isolation, of empathy, of the terrible beauty of the human experience, a story whispered on the wind, waiting for someone to hear.